What's good, friends list? Episode 17 of the Gamecast coming at you, and man, do we have a big one cooked up for you this week. It's our final preview blowout for The Outer Worlds, and if you're listening to this show, that means it has now officially launched. Let's go, baby. Adam and I sit down and cover everything under the sun about this game, from its deep but not overbearing character customization options to how Obsidian has seemed to find a way to take the dense feeling of Fallout New Vegas and bring its RPG heart into a well-paced adventure, and much more. Plus, has Diablo 4, Diablo 2 remastered, and Overwatch 2 seemingly leaked ahead of this year's BlizzCon? It's looking possible, but we try to find the truth buried deep within that dirty rumor mill, baby. A massive show coming up here on the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Richard.
Stop! You violated the law.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast. I'm your host, as always, Travis White, aka Travlis, on most internet platforms. And joining me today, well, where the hell's Mike?
Cricket.
The hell, it's just Adam. No, I'm just kidding. Mike is being a great son tonight, taking his mother out for dinner like the good dude he is, I guess. I don't know. I use that like, no, I'm just kidding. So joining me today, the one, the only, Adam Marsh. Adam, what's good? What is going on? And what have you been playing?
Not too much, Travis. Recently, I've still been playing some Fire Emblem. You know the story there.
Shocker.
Not gonna go too deeply into that, but I have also picked up a new game that I've been really sucked into lately. I don't know if you've heard of this one. It's called Disco Elysium.
I've heard tidbits about it, but I've heard very good tidbits about it, that it's just fucking wild.
This game reminds me of the more recent Shadowrun games by Harebrained Schemes. They're kind of like futuristic, but also strange, out of place, almost cyberpunk, but it's not even really there.
These are the isometric ones, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Disco Elysium is a very dialogue-heavy RPG where there's no combat, but you do have statistics, and those statistics determine how your internal monologue will pick up on things as you follow this murder mystery. And as you progress through the game, you'll earn experience from doing the investigation and noticing things and passing skill checks, and you'll be able to spend more of those points on improving your stats and getting better at certain things. So, for instance, my character, I have him spec'd into intelligence and psyche, and he's low on physicality and motorics. So he's clumsy, he's not very strong, but he's perceptive. And the game is just absolutely bonkers hilarious. Like, some of the writing...
I've heard some of the dialogue and like you were saying, some of the writing in general is just like trippy, but in the best way possible.
Yeah. So if you're into well-written, dialogue-driven games, character-driven games, this is definitely something that you might want to check out.
Playing on PC, right?
Yep, I'm on PC.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I meant to watch at lunch today whenever I was kind of putting together some of our show notes for today. I saw the review from IGN post a couple days ago, and I meant to look at it, and it was one of those things, I saw it there, and I was like, I need to watch this, but I need to watch like 3 other videos to make sure I get info right for our show today. I'll come back to that, and then I got caught up with actual work stuff, shocker, for like, a couple hours, and I never went back to it, but I will watch that tonight because I'm really interested in that. I do love it's weird. I don't like... If it's an RPG, I like RPGs. Like, I like it being not a strict RPG, but very much, if it's an RPG, I want it to be much more of an RPG than, an action game or something like that. And that seems like the more traditional style RPG, and that's a setting that, and, the context that it brings, I think I would be very much interested in that. So I may check that out. I'm going to look into it. It's just on PC, I'm guessing.
I don't know if it's on any other platforms. I've got it on Steam right now.
Let's check it out real quick lack. It is just on Microsoft Windows. So, yes, just on PC. Anyways, for me, that was kind of a rhyme, but I didn't mean to do that. For me, mostly been the same because, like I keep saying, I'm in this like lull period that waiting for the game we're going to talk about today. It's our big preview episode for
Oh, you know it.
The Outer Worlds. I'm super hyped for that, but it's one of those things that I'm just kind of, I'm not, it's more like a hotel stay that I'm doing. Like, I'm coming
You're in a holding pattern.
Yeah, I'm coming in and I'm staying for a couple days and then I'm jumping out. It's not where, like in The Outer Worlds or when Death Stranding comes out, like, that is going to be my game for the next, like, couple weeks. I'm going to actually sit down. This is getting my full attention span. Anytime that I have free time, I'm playing this game over movies, whatever else, doing, screw being social. I mean, who the fuck wants to do that anyways? So I'm kind of in a lull period, but I'm still playing AC Odyssey. It's fun to just kind of pick around in that game, just jump back and forth between different things going on, kind of doing a lot of side quests. It's much more, I love the game, and I love, because I'll be honest, I've said this, I'm sure, on previous episodes. Up until Origins, I was adamantly against everything that Assassin's Creed was doing. I don't like annualized franchises for the most part. This is the first Call of Duty game I actually have some interest in a long time. I just truly never really, I feel now granted, Activision and Ubisoft are these huge umbrella publishers that have so many studios underneath them that it's not like Madden and at EA where they're pumping out a new Madden. There's such a quick turnaround that they're just keeping the skeleton the same and, upping some asset, polish to it, every year. So it's a little different. I know it's not just one studio making these or not. I just hated the fact that Assassin's Creed, because I stopped caring about the franchise, to be honest, by I think AC2, which was like 10 years ago. So it was very much, I was turned off by it, didn't want anything to do with it. And when Origins came out, I heard great things leading up to it, but it also launched the same day as Mario Odyssey. So obviously, I know what the fuck I'm getting that day. It ain't gonna be Assassin's Creed. So, it was one of those games I first picked up Origins whenever it while I was waiting for God of War to come out, like, maybe 3 weeks before that. I was like, I want to play something, but I don't want to get balls deep in something. But then I pick that up. It's on sale for $20. Pick it up, and I get balls deep in that. I love it. It's much more of a full-fledged RPG than anything else that franchise has put out, and it's so deep and dense. The writing's great. So there's a lot of reason to care about, what goes on in that world. And when they went to Odyssey last year, I was totally in, not day one, because there were, I think Red Dead dropped right as that was dropping, so I was like, obviously I'm playing fucking Red Dead. So Black Friday rolled around, picked it up, and it just didn't have the sticking power. It feels much more grindy comparative now. I felt like progression is much more stalled with how you have to fight cultists and different things like that, but it's still a great game. It's much more, to me at least, feels much more pick up and play than Origins, where Origins was much more, if you're playing this game, you get the most out of it by sitting down and playing for 3 to 4 hours at least. Where this feels much more like, I can just go hunt a mercenary who's after me. I can just go hunt one of the cultists that I need to chip away at the overarching narrative. Things like that it really works well. So, been playing a little bit of that, and then my fiance and I have been playing Detroit Become Human. I've played I think actually where I stopped with the game, we're at now. So like the halfway mark, I would imagine. So we restarted and I played with her because she loves playing the Telltale-esque games, the more, I don't want to call it, like visual novel almost in a sense. Interactive storytelling or however you want to call it. But those style of games are great for her and I to play. I let her make all the choices. I do all the QTEs because her reaction time is not that great. So, neither is mine. So that's even saying a lot. But so we've been playing that. It's great. Not that I'm like itching to play it every night she wants to play it or whatever, but it's fun to have something we could both play and her being, engrossed in it. And when she's engrossed in it, I get engrossed in it. So it is fun. Yeah. But besides that, it's just mostly been
that's a strong force that keeps me on Fire Emblem, because Alexis wants to play that like almost every night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited about this too now.
It's great. I would love to do like an episode where our significant others like come on and just like talk about not only, the stuff that, because I mean Molly loves gaming. She played a ton from N64 to Wii. She was pretty hardcore into playing like a lot of games on PS2, GameCube, and even into the Wii. Have you heard of Endless Ocean?
I feel like I've heard the name, but I can't tell you what it's about.
So it's like a scuba diving game, and it was on, I don't think it was on, I think the first system that it appeared on was Wii, but it's a scuba diving like adventure game where you're scouting out different animals through it, but it's like this deep game that she put like well over 100 hours in playing this game, like on the timer on it. It's crazy. And it's a Nintendo published game. Like it's polished, it's real good. Like she showed me it before, I'm like thinking she's telling me about this game. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, And I was like, holy shit, this is actually, the controls are tight. Like everything's actually pretty nice. This being like from the time of the Wii where there was so much goddamn WiiWare shit that, everybody was just trying to put some type of garbage out on that system. So I'd like to do an episode where we have like them come on and not only talk about, the things that they liked about gaming, but why they still, have some kind of attraction to gaming, and also the things we do when it comes to gaming that pisses them the fuck off, because I'm sure there are tons with Molly. I'm sure there is like a laundry list. She'll be like, well, I could tell you the things that probably don't in a lot quicker of a time when it comes to it. It's a lot of probably me getting irrationally pissed at a fictional character that is non-existent. So
yeah, that'll be an illuminating episode when it happens.
Oh yeah, that's one that I will be gladly willing to edit and make sure it gets out. So anyways, let's head into our show. But before we do that, let's talk about our housekeeping, which is our free game giveaway. Do you like free games? Does a bear shit in the woods? I mean, I guess. I've personally never seen it, but I am getting off topic. Of course you do. So let us help with that. We're giving away a brand new free game of your choice on any console. That not just Xbox, not just PC. We're talking PS4, Switch, whatever. Modern console, though. To one lucky listener. And all you have to do is the following. Follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast, retweet the pinned tweet on our profile, and make sure you're listening to the show to know if you've won. That's it. Once we hit our goal, we'll pull a winner and someone will get squared away with a free game. So head on over to at GPGC Podcast and enter today. Quick interruption from your neighborhood future Travis. Adam and I forgot to cover one quick announcement in housekeeping when we recorded this episode. But thanks to the power of those gosh darn tootin' computers, we're able to get in there now. Take it away, future Marshy.
Hi, one small announcement from Marshy here. When I'm not recording this show with Mike and Travis, I'm also a volunteer moderator for the Extra Credits Discord community. Maybe you've heard of their YouTube channel. It's a popular node of gaming discourse. Extra Credits have run several official game jams in the past, but this weekend, the Discord server is hosting its first unofficial fan jam. Have you ever wanted to make a game of your own but don't know where to start? If you're interested in developing games as a hobby or a career, then I can think of no better way to practice than to participate in a game jam. This one will be running from Friday, October 25th to Tuesday, October 29th. Full details in the link below, especially if you don't know what a game jam is. If that sounds interesting to you, be sure to check it out. I will be streaming the submissions on the following Friday afternoon, so join me on Twitch if you want to see your game played. That's all.
Adam, before we get into the meat of our show, got a little news chunk here that I think pertains to really our team here. And it seems like at one point I thought just one game, but it looks like we're going to have two games. But let's start with the first one here. Diablo 4 seemingly leaked by Artbook Advert. This comes via IGN from Matt Purslow. As always, link to the article will be in the description of the show. Make sure you go over there, give Matt a click, a view, a read, all that jazz. So, kind of jumping into it, there's been a lot of rumors going around about everything with Diablo 4, how it was supposed to be at BlizzCon last year. They pulled it last minute. A lot of people kind of don't think it's a coincidence that Mike Morhaime ended up stepping down as CEO at Blizzard. Like, there's so much going on with it that kind of culminated with that Diablo Immortal shitstorm. So, especially now with what's going on with Blizzard, it seems like they may be pulling out all guns to, they're pulling the emergency fire alarm type thing right now for BlizzCon. But let's get into it. Matt explains it here. A Blizzard advertisement in the latest issue of German magazine GameStar has seemingly leaked the existence of Diablo 4. A full-page advert on page 27 of the latest issue of GameStar features a segment for the upcoming The Art of Diablo hardback book, which is due for release in November. The description of the book reads, and I quote, featuring over 500 artworks from Diablo, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4.
Whoa.
This book features many noteworthy artworks created for Blizzard Entertainment's iconic action RPG. A picture of the page has been circulating on Twitter, but GameStar itself has reported on the advert on its website, which is kind of weird. The article explains that the magazine will be available to purchase from October 23rd. As of writing, Diablo 4 has not been officially announced, and it seems unlikely it will be within the next 2 days. So, when I was putting the show notes together, that was it. I thought that was cut and dry, we're done. Oh, no. So, it looks like not only, and I've heard this being rumored, but we've now got more solidified info on this one. But I've heard all three of these rumors, but now it seems like it's definitely coming. So, on top of that, it looks like that Overwatch 2 is going to be announced at BlizzCon in a couple of weeks. So, this comes via Metro OW. It's a streamer who is kind of a leaker for Overwatch. So obviously with all this, take it with a grain of salt. That's self-explanatory. But so there's a Reddit post that's going on over on r/Overwatch, the Overwatch main subreddit. So let's dive into it here. This just kind of breaks it all down. There's been some major leaking regarding BlizzCon and Overwatch 2. How reliable is the source? Very. The leaker is Metro OW, a streamer with a reliable background. He most notably leaked Ash's name, cinematic, and abilities a week before BlizzCon last year. Here's what got leaked. Overwatch 2 is going to be revealed at BlizzCon through a cinematic short, and there's short spoilers at the end of all this, but who knows if it's actually true. Overwatch 2 seems to be the official title. Big number 2 on the screen as the end of the short, as Jeff Kaplan walks on stage, who's the creative director behind all of Overwatch. And also, too, whenever I was reading that, and Adam, you'll appreciate this because you're a Donkey guy. When I was reading Big Number 2, I just kept thinking, Big Yoshi. Old Dunkus. And I'm sure Dunk knows all about this now. He loves getting jammed up in Overwatch. So, anyways, moving on. It's a full AAA PvE and PvP game. So not only PvP, but we're looking at PvE as well. It'll feature a full leveling system that alters the hero's abilities. For example, Tracer can augment her bomb to stick to multiple enemies at once. More details will be given tomorrow on stream, and this was a couple of days ago. They've updated it, and nothing really did seem to come out. He seems to maybe have went radio silence, but that also could be from, hey, I don't want to get my shit taken down by Blizzard. But also on top of that, he does mention Diablo 4 and Diablo 2 Remastered also announced. And also the cinematic short that he did mention before, just kind of running through it, it will feature Mei, Winston, Tracer, and a young Genji, and Mei gets heavily injured and saved by Genji. So that's kind of cool. So kind of circling back around before we kick on into our main part of our show. So to me, Diablo 4 is like one of the worst kept secrets in gaming. It's one of the prime examples of how this like secrecy surrounding game development, at least in my opinion, is just ridiculously antiquated. It's like how I've said it before, movie studio, and it's been getting better over the years. You've seen it a lot with PlayStation's been one that from Sony. You'll see Death Stranding they announced 3 years ago, like right after Hideo Kojima was brought on to be involved with the project and have an exclusive deal with PlayStation. So it's getting bigger, but there's these huge publishers like Bethesda, Ubisoft, everyone that these games keep getting made, and we know they're happening, but they don't say anything about it. It's one of those, you would do a little more fan service. I think it would go a long way, and we've seen actually Bethesda change with Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, kind of showing those earlier than they probably expected to kind of save some face, but where it's, you know, even if you just show a quick JPEG, like, it's always that, like, okay, we know it's coming. It's there. Yeah, things get canceled, but I'm sorry, Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, those are huge, huge IP that are such cash cows for Blizzard that they're not going to get, oh, yeah, you know what, we canceled it. But at the same time, too, that StarCraft game did get canceled how long ago? What was that?
Yeah,
StarCraft Ghosts?
they keep trying to make a first-person shooter or something, and just never gets off the ground.
Yeah, but in terms of actual mainline games, I mean, they'd be stupid not to can it. But so its announcement was pulled last minute from BlizzCon 2018. 100% happened. Jason Schreier confirmed it. It's boom, ready to go. Which kind of resulted in what went on with Diablo Immortal, the dumpster fire reaction by fans. But with 2019's event a few weeks away, and really what looks like an even graver reaction will be at hand, rumors have really started kicking up around D4, along with also Overwatch 2. So, Adam, what do you want to see from Diablo 4, just real quick? And do you think that this advertisement, I guess if you want to call it a leak, is legitimate? Or is it just, a simple typo given the language barrier from a German publication?
I think there still may be a possibility that it's just about transliteration. Like the 4 might just be referring to Infernal, and that might be what we're getting from this art book. If Diablo 4 is coming, though,
it for sure is. It's legitimately happening. Like,
if that's what they're going to be showing here, I guess I should say.
My big, just before you continue, just to kind of give some context, last year it was pulled. All I think they were going to do, and there's a whole big article, Jason Schreier for Kotaku. I'll throw that in the description as well. He did a really big expose on it last year, where he kind of threw it out there because it pissed off a lot of people, and it made a lot of journalists who were ready to go with this announcement look like asshats for kind of, reporting on a lot of this stuff to then, it is happening, but you pull it last minute, like a day beforehand. Like, that made a lot of people look bad from, notable publications. But it did change.
Kind of pulling the rug out.
Yeah, it did change. They were actually going to change up the formula with Diablo at one point, but they got into it, maybe I think like a year or so into development. But from what they wanted to do, they wanted to do more of like a third person over the shoulder type thing that they couldn't get it to play right. And they scrapped it. They were like, nope, we're good. We're going back to the way it was. We'll, iterate on what makes Diablo a Diablo game, which is good to know. But they have now, I think it seemed like they were ready to show it, but the more, how do I want to put this? Those who have been with the company, I think the longest outside of Moorheim, from what it sounded like, wanted to pull it back and say, no, we don't want to just say like, oh, it's coming and here's a quick, cinematic, and that's it. They wanted to make sure they showed more with it, but, internal fight. But continue. Sorry, I just want to give a little more context.
Nope, that's all right. As far as what I might like to see from a sequel, it's hard to say, like, after playing Diablo 3 and never beating it, by the way. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I've only beat it once. I've
gotten to, like, I think maybe the end of Act 2 in the desert. I forget which region that is called. That's about the farthest I ever really remember getting. I have vague memories of maybe some of Act 3 where you're, like, defending a castle under siege or something. And I remember playing that on like 360 in co-op mode with Mike. But beyond that, never finished the game. So it's hard for me to have a real frame of reference of like what they've been working up to for all this time.
I think 3, at least in my opinion, because you played a lot of 2, I think 3 was at least from somebody who's very similar. I beat the game, I know what happens, but I was not as balls deep into 3 as I was the earlier titles. But to me, it definitely is the most accessible title out of all of them, and I think the most newcomer welcoming title, at least. It was very, I don't, like, Mike may say it's watered down or whatever like that. I find it more, yes, they did they did dial back a little bit of the more hardcore elements of it that I've noticed, but at the same time, you also have to do that for making a console port on multiple different consoles.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I think I really enjoyed about D3 is that your build aside from your gear's one thing, but your stat build and the skills that you invest in is reconfigurable at any time. You can change up your playstyle whenever you want. You can reallocate your skills. You can pick different runes. That I really liked, because one part of Diablo 2 growing up for me that I found difficult was like I would paint myself into a corner with a bad build, and then when it came time to play on like nightmare difficulty or something, I think I played before the patches that like let you reallocate your stats once per difficulty level.
Yeah, that was I was kind of the same way with like, now granted, not being able to go back and play again, but like Morrowind, whenever you'd have a certain character build going on, then it's like, well, if I want to get good at this one thing, it's much more of an uphill battle at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's exciting. I'm very much looking forward to Diablo 4, even though Blizzard is on my shit list and will be for quite a while. Hopefully Diablo 4 is still quite a ways out, so that they can hopefully build back a little more, a little more faith on my end. But that's also, we also have to understand that at the same time, that I'm sure, obviously, with how some Blizzard employees reacted to that, that's not the message from everybody internally. That's not the end all be all. It was
right.
It was somebody higher up who was appealing to not the right sources. So, but that's not why you're here. You're here. Everyone's here because of, obviously, Adam and I's beautiful voices.
Hello.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for? Even though we don't have video, you can listen to my voice. Funny story about that song, actually, before we get into it.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the music video for it?
I have not.
Jesus Christ. So, this music video, Lionel Richie is an art teacher in it. Okay? Or some kind of teacher. And he's teaching this girl that he is, like, sexually attracted to. Okay? It's like a student, like, that he's definitely having some, like, he wants to get it on. He wants to, dive up in there, so, but then you find out at the end, spoiler alert for a 3-minute video, that here the girl's fucking blind, okay? So the girl's, not only is she his student, she's fucking blind. And then at the end, it shows that she was making a sculpture out of clay of Lionel Richie's face. Of his head. Like with the Jerry curl and all.
Okay.
It's one of the most psychotic things I've ever seen. Hands down. And like, people say like, oh, music, the boomers out there will be like, oh, music this generation, it's just fucked up. These idiot kids talking about drugs. Well, at least we're not talking about like fucking banging our students who are blind, who are out here making weird fucking mosaic pieces of art of us. Like,
from my friends who were in education programs in college, one phrase always stuck out to me that they got in their education track. It was never hit or hit on your students.
I think that's up there with like numero uno. That may be numero uno. If not, it's like
number one.
It's outside of probably don't kill anyone, so.
I mean, I think hitting them kind of covers that in a way.
Oh yeah, true, very true. But you don't want to know about Lionel Richie. You're here, like I was saying before I got sidetracked by, you guys know me, I'm a fucking psychopath. So I get sidetracked by stupid shit. Anyways, you're here because we're here to talk about The Outer Worlds, baby. Adam, how excited are you for this fucking game?
I'm incredibly excited. I have basically the weekend set aside because the lady I live with is going to be visiting her parents, and I'm going to be in my apartment all weekend by myself, eating junk food, playing this game. I'm very hype, and we've been watching a lot of, a handful of videos, just kind of getting a sneak peek of the game to prepare for this episode. And I'd been pretty much blind up until now, but now that I've seen that stuff, I'm very hyped to play this game.
See, like, I'm good with, I still don't watch the 20-minute video that IGN put out. I didn't want to watch that much because it's the beginning. It's like showing like story elements and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to see that. Gameplay, yeah. I'll see random gameplay from hour 6 of the game or whatever that you're just running around doing a fetch quest or whatever.
I will say it's pretty light on anything besides just the basic premise. And if you want to go in blind from even that, like that's fine. I respect that position, but I will say it's not too deep on like.
Oh, so you did watch it?
I did watch it, yeah. It doesn't explain too much up front. It kind of sets you up with the main premise of who you are,
Mhm.
who the doctor is, that the
Mhm.
kind of Doc Brown like character that you see in a lot of the promotional material,
Yeah.
and what your goal is in a very broad sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen enough promotional material around to know, hey, this is what's going on. And obviously, you know, in our show notes here, I have some breakdown of the actual game that I'll get into in a minute, just to kind of fill in for people who aren't necessarily super familiar with the game. But I think a lot of our audience is. You know, I just stayed away. It's like I've said before, like Death Stranding. I know it's really kind of hard to do at this point because nobody knows what the fuck this game's about, but it still looks amazing. I've stayed away from like Kojima put out a 50-minute like presentation of gameplay. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I want to experience. I'm just that type of person who, you know, I'll turn off trailers at some point to be like, nope, I'm good. I don't want to see that. I want to experience that for myself because a lot of that's so lost because of the media presence. And I guess we're kind of also in that bucket too at this point, that we have a podcast around gaming that we deep dive in and we look for things before they're released or whatever, you know? So it's I understand why people are like, who the fuck cares? Just jump in. But me, I'm more like, I'm good. Like I can wait 3 more days, but I did want to go in and see, like, I didn't know a lot about, I stayed on media blackout for like character creation and stuff like that, but at this point I'm like, no, it's good to look at this stuff. I'm ready to go. But so for the show here, we're gonna kind of do our preview on the game, what we expect, our predictions, hopes, wishes, dreams, and most importantly our expectations, because I think that's a big thing to keep in check here with this game that's coming out right around the corner. So this week, as like I said, we're gonna roll with one of Adam and I's most anticipated games of this year, The Outer Worlds. So, if you're unfamiliar, I got the breakdown for you. You know me, when it comes to games, the games we cover on the show, I got the nice little fact sheet. So, The Outer Worlds is a galactic first-person RPG game from Obsidian Entertainment, the original creators of Fallout and the developer of Fallout New Vegas, that combines the witty dialogue, depth, and combat that you know and love from those games. The game is set in an alternate future that diverged in 1901 when U.S. President William McKinley is not assassinated by Leon Czolgosz at the Pan American Exposition. As a result, Theodore Roosevelt never succeeded him, allowing large business trusts to dominate society well into the future, where mega corporations have begun colonizing and terraforming alien planets. Originally bound for the furthest reaches of the galaxy, colony ships faster than light travel goes astray, leaving it abandoned at the edge of colony space. The player's character awakens on board from cryosleep only to find that most of the passengers are still in hibernation and begins a journey to a nearby colony to investigate the true nature of the corporations. The game features several factions and a branching story that reacts to the player's choices. While this is the first game to be released by Obsidian since being purchased by Microsoft as a first-party developer, the game will be released on October 25th, 2019. That's when the show goes live for you lovely bastards listening at home or at school or pinching a loaf off on the John. On Xbox One, Game Pass day and date, same day and date, PlayStation 4 and PC, along with a Nintendo Switch port coming in the near future. So, Adam, first off, it's well known. Fallout New Vegas is one of those games that seems like a never-ending gobstopper, or I guess in a darker light, the everlasting crack pipe for you.
It certainly is.
You go back to it like time after time, and for good reason. I mean, critically, it's one of the most beloved RPGs in modern gaming. So let me ask you this. What about Obsidian speaks to you as in terms of their games? Like, what makes you continuously put your faith in them as a developer?
It's a constellation of factors, but I'll try to touch on a few that I think are the most important. Firstly, Obsidian's worlds feel like logically consistent, and like there are systems in them that you can interact with. So, for instance, there's a video on YouTube that's pretty prominent. I don't know if I really need to plug it here, but it's about what's called the shandification of Fallout. And the main pull of the video, kind of a TLDR, is that like in New Vegas, you can walk around and ask yourself the question, what do these people eat? And that question is answered for you. It's like there are sharecropper farms outside of New Vegas, and there are small homesteads and stuff. And there's like, the world feels believable, right? Because the questions of what do people eat, how do they survive, they're salient to the setting and the story of Fallout, because it's a post-apocalypse and daily survival is kind of an important question. If it were set in the modern day, it might be less of an important feature. But what people eat in Fallout New Vegas, kind of an important question, and it is answered. Contrast that with Fallout 3, developed by Bethesda in-house. You have a bunch of people living on this giant aircraft tanker, Rivet City. What do they eat? It's not really explained. So that's one thing. Another is that I feel like the factional conflict feels more organic. In Fallout 3, you have some. I'm going to keep making these comparisons because it's the most
natural.
One.
I mean, you're naturally going to.
I apologize if I'm retreading old ground, but if we're comparing Obsidian, whose last most well-known title was Fallout New Vegas, they've developed a couple of things in between, Pillars of Eternity, but that's more of a classical computer RPG in the style of like Baldur's Gate.
I mean, don't get it twisted. The Outer Worlds is a spiritual successor to New Vegas. I mean,
I think it absolutely is.
They very much have alluded to the fact that that is the case.
Yep. Factional conflict feels more organic. It's not just a moral binary like we've talked about, I think, on the Fallout 3 episode, where you have good karma and bad karma, and who you murder, like, the game places value on different factions objectively. So, like, if you kill raiders, you get good karma. If you kill, like, I don't know, Rivet City citizens or whatever, you get bad karma. In Fallout New Vegas, it's a little bit more subjective. Like, you will get reputation with factions, and how you treat one faction will maybe determine how another faction thinks about you. Like, if you work for the NCR a lot, the Legion is not going to want to associate with you, and vice versa. And if you do bad shit to the NCR, the Legion's going to be like, hey, this is our guy. I'm expecting that to come through more in the Outer Worlds, especially after what I've seen from a couple of the preview videos I've watched. There's going to be conflict between the interests of the mega corporations that are at play on Halcyon. You're probably going to be working with and around them as much as you will be working against them or working them against each other. It almost reminds me of like a Shadowrun type situation, and that's a cyberpunk game. I don't think I would categorize Outer Worlds as quite cyberpunk, but the criticism of megacorporations is definitely there in common, where on one sense they're this like inevitable force, and you kind of just have to live with the reality that like they have a lot of power and control, and if you want to do anything in the world, you got to play ball with them sometimes. But
no, I totally agree.
But on the other hand, I know there's going to be very incisive criticism and commentary of real life corporations, and they're also going to take that to logical and comedic conclusions beyond actual reality, and like that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the one thing it always seems to me like, or it always seems to me with Obsidian games, they always seem to they master not only, and we'll touch on it a little bit, but the humor that's found, the like subcontext humor that is very meta and that is a very Obsidian thing. But their stories are always very meaningful. They're always, like you were kind of mentioning, like they have some rooted in truth and rooted in fact in a way, and it's always usually altered, but it's enough to where it's very believable to an extent.
Yeah,
like you would, if you're immersed in a game, it should be like if I'm playing, I don't even know. How about Odyssey, for example? AC Odyssey, I was just talking about. Like, you come across Socrates and these other people that you're not going to, obviously these interactions this is all fictional and yada yada, but the writing's so well, and they're done so well in that game, and it's so believable, the story that they craft, that I'm bought in. It's almost like the Marvel movie theory that some of these things are so, out there, but at the same time, Marvel roots their heroes and their stories in reality, and they do it so, the writing's done so well that it's just believable. It's just like, sure, why not? I'll throw some, extent of reality out the window, but it's enough to where I'm still buying in and believing what's going on. Like, looking at their releases, KOTOR 2, which I'm sure we'll touch on here soon, Dungeon Siege 3. Hell, even South Park: The Stick of Truth, like, I totally forgot they did that game.
That's Obsidian?
That is Obsidian. That is
Holy
Obsidian.
crap.
But they did that game. I haven't played it since Xbox 360 back in the day. But the writing, I'm doing it with, South Park Studios, I'm sure, Matt and Trey. they're just so spot on with a lot of their commentary that they do on, you know, current events and different things like that, and their writing's just down to such a good formula at this point.
Yeah.
But those two meshing together and going very much outside their ballpark in terms of the setting within always kind of stuck with me that, yeah, a big IP like South Park that is, you know, 20 plus years old now came to them and said, yeah, we want to do this, and we want to do it right. We want to work with this developer. We have an idea for taking a storyline out of there and plugging and going from South Park, but we want it done right. We want to use, if it's based on almost a Dungeons and Dragons experience that the kids are having in the game, we want to go with the best RPG developer out there. We want to go with somebody who fits that mold perfectly. Like, it says a lot to me, at least, about their quality. They've continuously taken everything they've thrown at them and turned it into something spectacular from a narrative perspective, at least.
Absolutely. And I love that Obsidian games seem to consist, at least from what I've played. It's definitely not all of their library, but they seem to consistently tackle big questions that are fun to kind of explore in the safe environment of a video game, like realpolitik and power dynamics and empires, and the questions and choices and burdens and winners and losers that are all associated with exploring those philosophies. And you get to see a lot of different perspectives on display, and you get to, you know, align with whichever one you want to on that given playthrough. You want to side with the NCR? Do you want to side with the Legion? Do you want to go your own way? And like, well, the first time I played New Vegas, I remember thinking, oh yeah, my own way is like the best way to go. Like, obviously I have to chart some kind of middle path between these two extremes of like the bogged down, corrupt bureaucracy of NCR and the absolutely brutal expansionist empire of Caesar's Legion. But like several years later, I realized trying to go the middle route was just establishing a monarchy that had no stability, and it probably wouldn't be the best thing for the wasteland in the long run. And it's just, all of their games, I feel like, have that quality of being able to chew on them and revisit them. And like you said, just I got to keep coming back and hitting them again and again.
Yeah, and it just, once again, it goes back into, I think it just speaks ridiculously high praise to how much of a just quality developer they are. Their games are always polished well. And granted, they're using, you know, sometimes in the Fallout situation, they're sharing engines, they're doing whatever, but it's just a quality product they put. Not every product that they put out is for me. I mean, I don't play Pillars of Eternity. I've heard amazing things about it. It's made me have interest in them just because it's a developer I just fully trust. I know that what they put out, I've seen their track record. They're almost one of those ones that after a while you gotta think they gotta have a miss in here somewhere type of deal.
That's true.
So I kind of wanted to touch on, I brought up KOTOR earlier, so, and this kind of plays into it with the world building. So Mikey Dowling, he's the director of communications for Obsidian. So he's gone on record confirming that The Outer Worlds is not a completely open world game. But fans of KOTOR 2, Knights of the Old Republic 2, they'll be able to draw similarities and comparisons between how the two handle world exploration. So he also does confirm on top of that, though, that you will be able to explore vast areas and will be able to travel to different locations, everything like that. So it's very much not cut and dry, closed, you know, linear. There'll be some exploration in there, but it seems like it's a much more refined experience in terms of exploration. So while we know that Obsidian can design open worlds with the best of them, like, you know, see Fallout New Vegas, like we keep praising, do you think this approach being paired with a more traditional RPG experience will mesh properly with what we've seen so far, at least?
I absolutely think it's going to work to their benefit. The more traditional CRPG experience lends itself well to handcrafted environments, I'll say. And they can be like, you know, interconnected, like a bunch of different zones that have a web of connections going throughout all of them. But when you get right down to it, you cannot walk continuously from point A to point B in a straight line. Like you might have to go from A to C to D and then to B. Like it reminds me of the way like Fable, for instance, is laid out.
Right.
A lot of exploration in that game, plenty of locations to visit, but they're more like webs and networks than a complete open grid where you can go absolutely anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to work to their benefit because it allows them to control the pacing and the content that you're going to find throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
In something like Fallout New Vegas, I feel like it would probably have been exhausting to try to be like, all right, we've got too much empty space here. Let's try to let's try to drop down something for the player to do, because there's just too much distance between these 2 points to justify it being this wide. And I think I'm dovetailing into probably what you're going to want to comment on.
Totally. And this is, I couldn't agree more with you. And this is as somebody who just loves a good open world game. I love getting lost in a world that is immersive. Look at Breath of the Wild. Look at, hell, name an Elder Scrolls game. Like, when open worlds are done right, there's almost nothing like them that can be touched like that. But there's nothing I hate more than when the concept of an open world is just forcefully shoved into a project to not only like satisfy this false pretense that like a lot of modern day titles have, that they feel this need to justify one's purchase. We have to give you all this content. To me, this game having a more self-contained world that kind of gives you this scale of grandeur and exploration while also keeping you focused and like on track for the gameplay and the story and the pacing, it's just so enticing to me. It's probably a big reason why I connected so deeply with God of War last year. Not only was the story just so impactful, but, and to me, really, it's, at least in my opinion, it's narratively impeccable, but it was also this feeling that I got when I'm playing through it as though none of my time was wasted in the world. Like, while I was traveling, there were areas to explore, there were secrets to be found, there were a lot of great spots on the map. You can fast travel, like, it was far enough that fast traveling every now and then was an option, but I wanted to keep staying in the world, so I never fast traveled. But all of it was there for a reason. There wasn't any filler bullshit, nothing to try to pad out a game, nothing to try to connect dots forcefully that didn't make sense. I personally will go to bat any day over an experience that is concise and values my time with progression, with storytelling, with pace, with gameplay, anything, than something that provides me with content just for content's sake, if that makes any sense. Just to, hey, here's Frosted Flakes with more frosting and extra frosting. I don't need the extra frosting. I don't want diabetes. No, just take it. Just take it. You want it. Come on, just take it. Like, to me, that's just, that's why I think the older I get, I just so much, and we'll touch on this eventually, I'm sure, but I so much value, I don't look at a game's time anymore. I look at is, from what I've done my research on and whatnot, I don't care if it's an indie developer, I don't care if it's a large AAA developer, what they're providing, does it waste my time? Because my time is the most valuable thing in the world that we don't get back. I'd rather spend $60 or $40 or whatever on a game that's just going to value the time that I put into it. At least that's my opinion.
Hard to agree.
But anyways, so moving along, I want to get into, kind of touch on some of the character customization that we've seen so far. In my opinion, at least, and I'm sure you at least agree to some extent, but it's character customization and creation, but mostly the customization and ability to change a character and quote-unquote evolve a character in their abilities is probably one of the main pillars to any good RPG experience, and in my opinion will be one of the most definitive factors when connected with this RPG we're talking about, the Outer Worlds, like on an immersion level. So Obsidian seems to be taking a similar approach to character design as they do world design. It's self-contained, but it's still vast with depth. If you want to mess with it, you can, and you can get a lot out of it, but for those who are looking to just kind of jump right in and enjoy the experience while also still having control over their customization, it's there, but you don't have to go completely balls deep into it. You can, if you want to put points into certain abilities, there's folders for them. You could kind of do just put it in a category. Or if you want a certain subcategory within that subcategory, you can mess with that too. It's there, but it's not forced down your throat. So how much weight does character design and customization from both appearance in the, straightforward answer, and statistical have on your experience with RPGs? Would you rather the Outer Worlds character customization be close to, Knights of the Old Republic 2 or New Vegas? Style of question.
I'll split it up by appearance and then stats. The first one doesn't appeal to me quite as much as the other. So, like, appearance for me, I know I'm not going to be looking at my character much in a first-person game. I might feel differently if it was third-person, but it's not a big deal to me. I'll usually go into most of these games on my first playthrough, and I'll have just kind of the same, basically self-insert character.
100% agree.
Like I'm just going to focus on doing guns, getting a lot of interesting dialogue options. So I'm going to pick like charisma or persuasion or speech or whatever, and doing interesting side stuff that allows me to, I guess, circumvent combat if I want to. So like lockpicking or science or something like that. To me, those are the skills that I've kind of learned will get me interesting experiences that I kind of opt into, I suppose. So the character creation appearance doesn't matter as much to me, but being able to build that character with the specific skills that I like to kind of like, I don't know, just play the game how I expect to play most games of this type, that I think is pretty important. On subsequent playthroughs, I do like to have the option to try something a little bit different. Maybe try a melee build, or like in the last 5 years, maybe I've completely been blown away by the fact that every Elder Scrolls build I used to do was basically just straight melee, and I would just blow through the game just swinging a sword. But magic in those games is a lot of fun. And
that's one that I've always wanted to do, a magic build, and I've never, every time I've played through Skyrim multiple times, I've played through Oblivion, God knows how many times, Morrowind, same deal, played through a lot, but I've always been like, I want to try just a full magic build where I'll dabble and do, hey, I want to focus in one-handed melee and focus in regeneration and work on healing magic, like specifically, but never been like balls deep in one. Just like, hey, I'm going all in on magic this time.
I'm not really familiar too much with Skyrim's magic systems, but I know in Oblivion it was like a bit scaled back from Morrowind. Morrowind with magic, you could basically break the game and produce spells and enchanted gear that like took you well outside the parameters of any semblance of balance.
Oh, wow.
And it was fun for just that reason, because you could become grossly overpowered pretty early on if you knew what you were doing. And it just felt like you were getting away with something that you shouldn't be able to, and it had that kind of mischievous fun factor to it.
Yeah.
Oblivion was a bit more restrained, but you still had a lot of power to make whatever kind of spells you wanted to. You still had most of the same effects, like, different flavors of damage, affecting enemies' stats, doing levitate and feather and water walk, using magic to circumvent skill checks that would otherwise be done by stuff like lockpicking or speech or whatever. So magic was kind of just the way to almost not really cheat your way through the game, but like it was the alternative method to actually putting in hard work and like grinding the other skills. It gave you access to the same stuff. So having options for character creation in terms of stats, I like multiple playstyles being entertained by the game and treated basically as equal.
Definitely. I'm kind of the same way, that I don't go balls deep in either right off the bat, but then like I care much more about the latter half of the two with my actual stats, my actual abilities, whatnot. But before I get into it, how about this? I'll give everyone kind of a breakdown. There's really, really good video that IGN produced. Brendan Tyrell over there, he does stuff with the Xbox team, a little bit of PC stuff too, but he sat down with the game's narrative designer, Natai Potter, and he kind of explains the effects applicable with each ability point that is spent there. Like, he went through the character customization, really broke it all down, made it really concise and really edible for anybody to kind of come in and get. So basically your character is broken down into 4 categories. You have attributes, skills, aptitude, and appearance. Attributes can then be broken down into 3 additional subcategories. Body, which includes your strength and dexterity. mind, which includes intelligence and perception, and personality, which includes charms and temperance. These will affect basically everything from your ability to handle certain weapons, such as handguns, ranged rifles, anything like that, to how you can skew those around to react to you, like your perception and things like that. You could basically get away with crimes by just being a sweet talker. And even really like a combination of all of those working together. They use the example, Brandon's like, hey, I want to use a Han Solo character. I want to be the dumb, lovable idiot who is also really good at being a scoundrel. He's great with weapons, things like that. So they really hiked up his perception and his charm, but dumbed down his intelligence and kind of upped some of his strength. Like, he was good with handguns and a little bit with ranged rifles, but wasn't that great. It's really cool, the ability you're able to go, and it's really, at least to me, digestible for an RPG like this. But so skills on the other hand are more effective, or skills on the other hand are more of the like detailed aspects of your character for what abilities and specialties your character can do, such as investing in range combat to unlock the TTD ability.
Tactical time dilation, I think.
Yes, which is Obsidian's answer to the VAT system found in Fallout. Aptitude is more just bonuses to those attributes than anything. And even Potter, the narrative designer, admits it was a way for the players to get a sense of the humor and the dialogue you will find in the world as you continue to spend time. And it's just really like little bonuses, like you get 20% more in this attribute because you signed up and accidentally shot yourself in the foot or something like that. Like, you signed up for the military and shot yourself on the foot on the first day, so you get a free pass on this or something. Like, it's just funny, like, dialogue that they're really trying to give you a sense of. They're more such a completely secondary thing. But
I really liked that touch in the video. It does it is mostly just flavor text. They kind of remind me of the traits from New Vegas, where like most of them were either negligible gains or there were some kind of trade-off, but they let you role play a little bit more and like get into the head of not just the developers and like how, you know, like you said, the kind of sense of humor that they're bringing to the table, but maybe also like they might nudge you in the direction of actually role playing a little bit more. Like, okay, there's more to this character than just I'm a scoundrel who sweet talks his way through most things and then falls back on his handgun. If that doesn't work, you might see a little bit more personality in them, some kind of flaw or some, just more defining characteristics than just, a stat sheet.
No, 100%, definitely.
So I think it was a really good touch.
Absolutely. I'm all in on it. I think it's a great even keel of appeasing to both parties, I guess, if you want the hardcore RPG fans and the ones who are just, I dabble in the Fallouts or the Elder Scroll games that come out, but I don't play Pillars of Eternity or, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's also totally opt-in. You don't have to pick one of these, and 100%. If you do just pick one at random, it's not going to have that big of an impact. You don't have to like deeply dig in to like uncover the lore of your backstory or whatever. It's just,
and they even say like, and Natai even says like, you honestly, if you're new to RPG games and you're not sure what to pick, it's always safe to put it in strength. And guess what? You can come back later and you could add on to this. It's not cut and dry. You're stuck with this character forever. You can keep building on them. You could, I'm sure there's going to be a, trophy or achievement or whatever for maxing out every single stat and every single ability on a playthrough. I'm sure there's going to be something like that. So it's in there for a reason. But on top of that too, just kind of last thing, the appearance isn't ridiculously detailed, but to me it does give you some pretty cool pre-made options for your character. It's definitely not like Bethesda depth that we kind of most recently seen with Fallout 4, where you could actually go over certain really specific areas and really just slider the hell out of all of it to, drag and pull to get some really funky creations going. But it's not like that. It's still good enough to me. It's one of those things that it doesn't... Character creation has never really appealed to me. I've always went in and just, give me a pre-made one. I'm going to throw a medium-length beard and the haircut that I actually have, and I'm good. I'm right. Done. Or I'm going to make, like, some celebrity like Taylor Swift or something like that. So,
have you ever heard of Code Vein? This is kind of a tangent.
Yes, I have. I've heard good things that it's like anime Dark Souls.
Yeah, apparently that game has an incredibly deep character
Yeah,
creator.
I did hear that. There's like a billion eyebrows to choose from.
Yeah, and to be honest, I know I talked earlier about like not caring that much about appearance, but almost like the spore creature creator,
Mhm.
I could see myself getting into that type of thing, even just as a standalone experience, just for the fun of like recreating like some known popular characters for the hell of it.
Yeah. No,
I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, it does look cool. I'd like to. I've never been like totally in on Souls games, and I've mentioned this before, but I did see a quick video of that, and I was like, if that ever pops up on like a PSN or Xbox sale or something like that, and it's $10, I may roll the dice on it. It seems cool.
Mhm.
Like, I like the art style a lot. So, but anyways, back to the Outer Worlds and its kind of character creation. Like I said, it's definitely not Bethesda depth. It's still, to me, there's still plenty to do with it on the actual end. But to me, skill trees are great. They're great for games that do want to offer some layer of depth to your character, like in Marvel Spider-Man, AC, Odyssey, Origins, we talked about, God of War, etc., all that shit. But they can kind of be cookie cutter to me at the same time. They're boring, and like it just leads to feeling like they're not really a character of your own, but more just, hey, at the end of the day, everyone's character is going to look the same, and by the time you roll credits, you're just going to have everything unlocked, and that water cooler moment of, so how'd you handle this? Well, my character had, strengths in this and this and this specific ability. Oh, my build was different than yours. I went this way. Like, those aren't there anymore with stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I still try to, like, I tend to shy away from getting, like, too balls deep in, like, crunching numbers with leveling and character stats. Like, I'm not a big Destiny guy. I'm not a big Division guy. And even in, like, Elder Scrolls Fallout, certain, like, scalable stats, like, I just don't normally bust out the spreadsheet and I'm like, well, if I do this, it's gonna bring me up to this, and if I do this, I can get this certain, like, I'll use generalities with that. Like, if I know, okay, this is going to, if I pick this, it's gonna benefit me with my one-handed melee build that I'm going with. So I'm gonna pick this, but this does it better. Okay, I'm gonna pick that. Like, I don't usually look at the trade-offs to me. So seeing Obsidian implement something like this, where it's really appeasing to kind of both sides of the spectrum, to me, it really works well. But it's also too, I was thinking about this earlier, it seems like it's just a big indication on what this game is. I think this game started out as a concept to them that I'm sure was thought and developed as being from an quote-unquote indie studio that was a smaller scale version of Fallout New Vegas that then wound up finding a home in really the Scrooge McDuck of video games, Microsoft, who has all the fucking money in the world. And I think this will be a great fit for a lot of those, like, just looking to get into RPGs who don't normally play them. I think this is really not baby's first RPG, but something that's really going to fare well for a large spectrum of people. And I think that's great.
For sure, it has mass appeal, which in this case I don't think is a bad thing.
Not at all, absolutely. So one thing that I think kind of really plays to a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of flack for it, but maybe this is just me. I can also see both sides of the spectrum though on this, but so Obsidian is saying that the game's playtime for, kind of, I don't want to say the average because it's a larger gap, I guess, to really call it an average, but a normal playthrough for people, and this is a non-like, oh, I'm going for 100% or whatever, the Obsidian saying the game's playtime should last between, like, 15 to 40 hours. And obviously, that's depending on your play style, because between 15 and 40 hours is a pretty big gap, at least to me. I kind of see some fans being thrown off of that. Like, sure, hearing 40 hours on the latter end of the time spectrum for this game, to the fans I'm sure at heart this is speaking to, your Fallout New Vegases, your Skyrims, Oblivions, Fallouts, you name it. Seeing how big of time sinks those games could be, I'm sure 40 hours does kind of feel like, that's kind of on the shorter end. I like to, invest hundreds of hours just into one character, but you know what? But to me, 40 hours is still a fucking lot of time to spend on something. Like,
Yeah.
as a full-grown adult who still loves to do all this man-child shit and will till the day they fucking lower him 6 feet into the cold fucking hard dirt, it's still, 40 hours is still a nice chunk of time to put into a game. Like, break that down and tell me how much you spend per hour if you're getting 40 hours for a $60 or $60 game. Like, the value is just ridiculous. So to me, that's just me. But at the same time, really what it's saying is this is a more streamlined experience, but not in a bad way. With the 40-hour mark in mind, do you think that'll ruin your gaming experience heading into the games? Like, does the concept of a preconceived length of a game hinder you from enjoying the game at all, Adam?
No, I don't think so. I think while I'm usually one to avoid spoilers as far as story or like even mechanical surprises, if you've ever heard of The Outer Wilds, that's a game that even though it's kind of light on story, there are mechanical surprises that you probably don't want to be spoiled on. Just something like the length of the game just helps me as a consumer make decisions about, do I want to opt into this experience right away at launch? Do I want to wait for it later until it's like a better time for me to get into it? Because, you know, if I were to try to start The Witcher today, that would be a bad decision because I'm not going to be able to play it for very long.
No, unless if you buy it on Switch, which even then again, it's like you guys only have one Switch. Alexis wants to play stuff. Like Molly wants to play my Switch sometimes. Like I even if I have that, it's not like if I took the bus every day or rode the T into work downtown. Like maybe sure, but like I don't. Like if I'm gonna be game, like yeah, I'm gonna play my Switch. Yeah, I'm gonna play it on all these different things. Hell, I have The Witcher on 3 different systems because I know it's a good game and I want to get into it, but I can't. Every time I try to get into it, I'm like, this is too much fucking time to spend. Like, but even then, it's like your time is so fucking finite. Like,
right, and it's a game that you definitely need a lot of time investment to get everything out of it. So knowing that ahead of time lets me make a better informed decision. Like, okay, this is something I'm not going to buy right now. I'm going to wait until I have a reasonable chunk set aside that I can invest in it. And with something like The Outer Wilds, knowing going in that maybe one character, one playthrough is going to last me, 15 to 40 hours, I think is the figure they gave. That's great. I know I'm going to be able to invest that in the upcoming weekend. I could probably beat it this weekend if I'm dedicated.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, to me, this kind of just goes back to not wasting my time. Like, I'm actually glad this is probably going to be like a 20-25 hour like normal playthrough game for me. A normal experience like that, like at 20 hours or so, like to me, that's great. Like the time between the launch of this game and Death Stranding is like pretty perfect for me because like with knowing that this is a pretty normal playthrough is going to take me around 20 to 30 hours, I would say, because I don't normally, my first playthrough, I normally don't dive in and find every nook and cranny, but I do take my time. I like talking. I like reading the dialogue between different characters. I do side missions. I do whatever little fetch questing I need to at times. But to me, that may give me a chance, like you were saying, I'll finish this bad boy before Death Stranding even comes out. Like, it's probably going to take me a week or so. And that's like pacing my time. Like, man, maybe I'll play 2 hours one night. I'll play, if it's on the weekend, I'll play 4 to 6 or whatever a day. Like, if I have a completely free day, I'm going to sit there and, like, chew on it for a while. But even then, it's like, even if I just take my time, like, it's digestible. I think it's this should be, like I was saying before, a good first experience for somebody who's looking to get into RPGs, at least on paper, looking to get into RPGs to say, man, I really don't want to sink the same time in that I see with, I did it with Skyrim, I did it with The Witcher, I spent hundreds of hours in there. I just can't do that right now. I don't have the time. I got a wife, I got kids, I got, the mortgage and adult shit, or I don't know what adults do. I still have yet to find out, but, taxes. I don't know. Fuck. Shit, I probably should pay my taxes. It's at 26. I feel like I should have. I'm getting off topic. Anyways, no, in all seriousness, though, it seems like this game is designed to be replayed, given that also they have stated, hey, this is going to have multiple endings. We want you to come back and play this again. Like, Obsidian is really, for being one of their shorter experiences that they put out, they're putting this in a light that they still want you to come back to this every now and then. We don't want you to completely close the door on the Outer Worlds. Like, we're going to have stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if they come out with this game and then maybe 3 months from now, they throw out a DLC. They throw out another 5 to 6 hour DLC, and then another couple months they do it again. Like, it wouldn't shock me. Like, I think something like this is perfect for those people who are looking to get back into RPGs or for the first time and just don't want the time commitment. And at the end of the day, too, it's going to be concise. It's not going to waste anyone's time. It's going to be straightforward to the point, but still give the options to spread your wings and, kind of spread out in the bed a little bit. Nobody else is there. Might as well kind of hang out for a while.
Absolutely. And, like, the fact that it's also a new title, just give it room to sort of grow into itself. Like, let me get familiar with the world. But I think on your first venture with something like this, there would be a lot of risk in, like, overstaying your welcome. Like, maybe the idea you thought you had and were running with just doesn't have the same staying power when it's in the consumer's hands. So keeping a lid on it, I mean, 40 hours is still pretty generous, but keeping a lid on it definitely works to their advantage to, I don't know how else to word it besides not make the game overstay its welcome, especially as something that's brand new, and I'm sure they're going to be iterating on it.
Red Dead 2.
Right.
Sorry, hairball. It was that 50-hour mark that I put into Red Dead 2. That should have probably been 30. Man, that epilogue really got stuck in my throat there. Yeah, but I totally agree. The overstaying your welcome thing, like I just mentioned, Red Dead did it with. Red Dead was an excellent game. I love it. I don't feel like I wasted my time for 90% of that game. I felt it was all concise. I love the story. I love the slow burn. We talked about that before. But it's where the epilogue came in, and it was important info, and it was a cool connection, but it was more or less, you could have cut 4 hours out of that, and I would have been like, okay, cool, we're done. Like, that's a great ending. I find out how the two stories connect, and we're good. Cool. Awesome. It's just, I think with that 20 to 30 hour mark for the game, I think they're going to have no problem landing the plane. I mean, they've landed multiple planes before, so I'm
sure they'll stick it.
Yeah, they'll stick the landing. They'll Evel Knievel the shit. So, wait, didn't he die? Right? I don't know. Anyways, so kind of starting to round out the conversation here, Adam. I want you to give me 3 things you hope to take away from this game, or you hope to enjoy within this game, and I want you to give me 3 things you hope don't find its way into this game. On top of that, so give me some positives and then give me some negatives.
Okay. In the Outer Worlds, I would like to see some interesting faction conflict, including some economic and political commentary. That's to pretty much be expected with the way they've set this game up from the premise and the narrative. I would like to see some variety in the combat. I just don't want like 2 or 3 different flavors of damage, but it's basically the same gunplay. Just, I don't want all the weapons to feel exactly the same. I want to feel a little bit of variety. And maybe just beyond combat, just a variety in the way I can approach situations. Give me, back entrances. Give me talking my way past the guards. Give me hacking into a console and turning on the automated defenses to turn on the guards. Something like that.
Which looks to be there. Like, that stuff looks the Fallout things that we've seen interacting with the environment around you, the technology around you, it seems like that is all there. So, knock on wood, things could change, but who knows?
But, like, back entrances behind a waterfall, no less. They seem to be there. I'm looking forward to that. That's 2 things. I would like to see that dark humor that we talked about. That kind of... It goes hand in hand with the commentary, but, like, that kind of incisive, a little bit edgy, but, like, self-aware, kind of pointing at something and being like, you know what we're really talking about here.
Yes. Like, almost like and for as much flack as they get at times, very much, Rockstar's excellent at that. They're excellent at seeing the parody that sometimes comes along with the subjects they broach, and they're not afraid to shy away from that. They make the meta joke of what's going on. They know, but that's why their writing's always both serious and on, more to, even at a comedic level, such as we're gonna, I'm sure, find both of those in this game.
Right. Things I don't want to see. I guess I would have to go with please give me some better stability in performance than we would have seen from Bethesda games trying to do similar things. I hope at launch it doesn't give me crash to desktops and corrupted save files, anything game breaking. I understand like there might be some performance issues and hiccups and graphical glitches that I can pretty much tolerate. As long as there's nothing game breaking, and like knock on wood, thus far I haven't even really had those kinds of problems with Bethesda games, which are infamous for being buggy.
Neither have I.
So maybe we're just, I think those problems tend to affect like maybe 10 to 20% of people, and that they are rightfully vocal about it because
the loud vocal minority.
Right, but they're just not as common as they might seem because people who experience them are obviously going to be pretty vocal about it. So I hope we see good performance. What else don't I want to see? This is a tough one.
Yeah. You can give me if you want to just give me one. You can give me two, whatever.
I guess I hope that the questing is decent. That it's not too like. I feel like what they did in Skyrim with Radiant quests got a little bit like the system was designed to be reactive and like, oh, if you kill this guy, this other guy will take over his shop and he'll give you quests. But when you design the system that way, you almost take all the character out of it. So
right.
I was a little bit worried by the fact that in some of the videos we watched today, they mentioned that you could get to the ending screen of this game by just murdering everybody, like absolutely everybody. And that's an interesting approach. Maybe they would do it justice, but I hope it doesn't stymie. I hope they're not hamstringing their quest design by allowing that possibility, because you'd have to make a lot of concessions to make that possible.
Oh my god, yeah.
So I hope they're being thoughtful about that and not designing for the edge case, because I don't think most people are going to be considering that their primary playthrough goal.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I agree. You touched on a lot on my end in terms of we had a lot of overlap with our positive and negatives. Positive wise, I'm hoping that I see lasting dialogue, which I really, really expect we are. I feel very safe about saying that. Going in line with the hours that, in terms of the hour mark for the playthrough that they're saying, I want that to come along with a well-paced story narrative to me, especially in worlds like this. If I'm going to invest, if I'm going to invest 20 hours into anything, I want it to be damn near good. Like, I don't want to turn around and be like, wow, technically I literally wasted almost a whole day of my life dedicated to this, and the ending was very negative. So, and then on top of that, combat that doesn't make me want to pull my hair out. And I'm talking to you, Fallout 4, where it was much more leaning into, hey, we want to be an FPS, but we don't have the polish of a good FPS in terms of the shooting mechanics that go along with it. I just hope that, which it does look like, but, obviously, I'll touch on this in a minute, but, we don't have reviews out yet, we don't have anything like that. All we've seen is what everyone else has seen, and it looks like the combat's going to be fine, but it's still an RPG. I still want it to be an RPG first that has good combat on top of it, not trying to be something else that it isn't billed to be, where it's an RPG first with good combat and shooting mechanics secondary, but I don't want the focus. I just want it to be living more of one side of the plane than the other, and I think Fallout 4 didn't handle that very well. So
right.
But negative wise, just real quick, I was pretty much the same with you. I have poor optimization. Originally the messaging was that PC and Xbox One would receive high-res and performance patches. The Xbox One X enhanced, PC 4K patches, same with that, but the PS4 version wouldn't. Now it's confirmed that all systems will have it. Obsidian came out, hey, we want to clear the air. Everybody's getting the same thing. Obviously, PS4 only will shoot out to 1440p with the upscaling, but it'll keep it at a much more stable frame rate. Like, there's trade-offs that are coming with that. But that did worry me a little bit that due to their acquisition by Microsoft, that they could be alienating off like a section of their consumers. I just want everyone to enjoy this game. I don't give a fuck what you play it on. Play it on PC, play it on Xbox, play it on PS4. Like we said before, we own everything. It's coming on Switch. Play it on Switch. I don't... Just if it, I hope performance-wise it isn't being hindered on any of those platforms, obviously outside of Switch, just because it's a legitimate, less powerful hardware. That may be a little bit different. But I just don't want shady business deals and whatnot to hinder people just from enjoying the game straight up, and a poor optimization of that is one of them. And then, like you said, repetitive questing. I felt like Fallout tended to fall victim to that. Not necessarily New Vegas, but more for and Bethesda-based ones. And that's along with, many open world games. But I just don't want to see fetch questing in a single-player non-MMO experience, and that just, to me, leads to burnout super quick. I get burnt out with a game that's like, fuck, I have to go kill another person. It's literally the same quest 4 times in a row. Like, I'm cool with it. I'm done. I just don't want to see that. But the one thing that you didn't touch on that I think I want to see for my third, I don't want them to force plot threads to a direct sequel just because it's a new IP. I want them to put this out here, almost like Fallout New Vegas, where here's a certain experience. We may leave a couple of loose threads, like, in the background of the game, but just put it out and let it breathe. See what people like this game for. See if people jump all over this. Could be a big thing for Microsoft. This could be a big thing for Xbox leaning into next gen with their emphasis on first-party games. I mean, this may be big for a lot of people, but I want people to take this game for what it is, verbatim, right there, and worry about the game that's out now. Sure, I guarantee all good writers leave some things open-ended for people to want to come back and experience their games and their movies and stories even more, because that leaves people thinking, keeping that subject on their mind. Like, if I love this game and they leave a couple things open, I'm then thinking about Outer Worlds even more and more. So it'll make me want to come back, and it'll keep me trusting. But I just don't want them to shoehorn things in, because I feel like sometimes with new IPs, they really shoehorn in some like open-ended things that I'm like, did we really need to do that? Like, I didn't need to know that you left, somebody possibly didn't die that we thought did. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense because of X, Y, and Z. Just tell the story you want to. Worry about telling a contained story right now, because it's not very linear, but it's a more linear RPG than what it seems like previously with Fallout New Vegas. Leave it as that and go from there. Make sure the base of it is good. So, yeah, just my kind of opinion. So, last thing, how about this? Last thing, gut reaction. What do you think the Metacritic score is going to be for this game?
I think it's going to be at least a 90. I expect
90.
I think based on the pedigree of the developer, the attitudes that I've seen, just kind of from the general dull roar of the internet about this game before its launch, and the financial support that they're having from their publisher, I think they have all of the pieces to make Game of the Year, essentially.
Wow. I like it. I respect the fuck out of that. That is awesome. I personally was saying, and I think too, this year, overall, I mean, we'll see, obviously, when Death Stranding comes out. We just talked about this last week. Death Stranding still to come. Not that I think Modern Warfare is going to come out and critically blow people away with a review score or whatever, and it's going to be a Game of the Year type contender, but we also have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is getting rave preview reactions, and a lot of people are really hyped on that now, critically even. So I'm really excited for that, but there's a lot of things to go into it. But at the same time, there's no game that really came out this year that, like, blew everyone's socks away. There was no Breath of the Wild. There was no Odyssey. There was no God of War. There was no Red Dead. There was no Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There was none of these, like, games that are almost... they could be genre or not genre, but, like, well, even genre, I guess. But they could be generational defining games that have come out. And usually we get those one or two a year that kind of stand out from the pack, and we just haven't seen that yet. And I'm right there with you. I think this game is going to be received very well from both sides of the plate in terms of critics and fans. And I'm saying mid 80s to upper 80s. Like, I'm saying maybe like an 87 around there. I'm going to say definitely no lower than an 80. Like, I think this is easily an 8 or above so far, or it's going to. I think it's going to review very well. I think Obsidian, no polish, like we said before. The game's going to be polished. It's going to run well. I think it's going to run well day one because so many people are going to get to play it on Xbox One Game Pass, being on their day and date. Like, they have to have their shit ready to go. Like, boom, we're ready. We're ready for the influx that are going to be downloading this game. I think we're going to be at like an 85 to 87, something like that. And it's going to get some Game of the Year buzz, like you said, 100%. So
For sure.
I'm fucking excited, man.
Me too. I can't wait for the weekend.
I'm really fucking excited to play. I work a ton this weekend, but you know what? God damn it, if I gotta go on 3 or 4 hours of sleep, I'm gonna go on 3 or 4 hours of sleep because this game seems like it's gonna deserve my time. So I'm really excited about it. So that's gonna about do it for our episode, our preview on the Outer Worlds. So on top of that, just a heads up, we're recording this on Monday the 21st of October. Review embargo lifts tomorrow on the 22nd. So we'll be able to kind of have an idea leading into this. You tell us if our predictions were wrong with the Metascore. Adam's saying 90 at least. I'm saying 87. We're sticking to it. I'll put some kind of proof that we record this on Monday. If not, if you don't believe us, fuck off. I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, Adam, that's going to do it for our preview of The Outer Worlds. Where can people find you on the interwebs to talk about The Outer Worlds when it comes out?
If you want to talk to me on the interwebs, you can reach me on Twitter at AC_Marshy.
Nice. As always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travlis, on most internet platforms, including Twitter at Travlis_. That's TRAVLESS_. You can also find me streaming every now and then on twitch.tv/Travlis_, same as Twitter, and on Xbox Live at just regular Travlis, TRAVLESS. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, viewing, following, all that jazz. More importantly, thank you for coming around and joining this growing community that we talk about awesome games that we're real excited for, like The Outer Worlds. So let's enjoy it this weekend. Let's get out there, play some fucking video games. As always, game on, and we will see you next week.